Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing footage submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Tangy Platypus, who just hit number 30 in the world with Litleo in the Open Grade League. Tangy mentioned in the notes that they had put together this team just to have some fun post-legend, and the team ended up putting together some pretty impressive sets. Now, to clarify, this is definitely not a team that I recommend for climbing, but I really like watching anti-meta mons just shred through leaderboards elo. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's go Litleo. Off to a rough start in game number 1, Annihilate in a Drift Blim. Same switch Emolga, instantly hard punished with a Stunfisk, and this spicy squad is off to a nightmare start. Stunfisk completely walls off Emolga. Emolga overfarms trying to CMP tie the Stunfisk, but the Stunfisk player is wisely going to overfarm. They know 2 acrobatics will not come close to knocking out, whereas they really want to exit with a lot of energy to try and threaten the Annihilate when it eventually is going to be brought back in. The only consolation here is that obviously Litleo would not be a big fan of this Stunfisk either, so it's a good Pokemon to bait out, but this is still a really rough scenario as the Stunfisk should get a second Mud Bomb into the Annihilate as well. Annihilate would be in 1 Astonish range if it no-shielded, so it's forced to commit a shield. Annihilate should be able to get the shield back from this Drift Blim. In comes the Drift Blim, as a Shadow Rage Fist would inflict way too much damage. Rage Fist is going to be shielded. In comes Litleo. Drift Blim staying in. They're going to switch out. It's going to be Credilli in the back. And with their slow switch, maybe this is possible. Litleo will get to ramp up its damage with Flame Charge. Oh, the opponent tries to CMP tie. A devastating misplay, as now Litleo has such an energy head start. Litleo is at the back-to-back crunches. This crunch is going to be shielded. There's crunch number 2, and unfortunately Credilli will not be making it to its second Rock Tomb. Crunch picks up the knockout. In comes Drift Blim, but Drift Blim is completely walled. Drift Blim is going to be firing off the Shadow Ball. Even if they threw the Icy Wind, that would not KO either, and Litleo is going to sweep the endgame in game number 1. Crunch KOs the Drift Blim, and that is a good game. We move to game number 2, and Annihilate cannot catch a break with these leads, leading into Shadow Pidgeot. Safe switch Emolga answered with a Fortress, obviously a bit unfortunate as you'd prefer to have Fortress getting burned down by Litleo, but even so, Emolga can probably make a play for switch advantage. The unfortunate thing is this Pokemon right here, the Emolga, is the only resistance to flying on the team, so Gus will hit for massive damage onto the remaining 2 Pokemon. Emolga is debuffed, but gonna launch the Acrobatics, a double shield from the opponent, but Emolga with his energy head start is gonna make Acrobatics number 3. Acrobatics is gonna land. Now this Fortress deep into the red health, Emolga is going to concede the final shield in exchange for switch. There's going to be a switch from the opponent. They bring out Gastrodon as their final Pokemon. Gastrodon now going to be hit with an Acrobatics. That's going to land, and in comes Annihilate. Annihilate will take big damage from the Earth Power. Obviously will not knock out, but just like that, Annihilate is deep into the red HP. Annihilate is going to make a last-second Rage Fist. Rage Fist will pick up the KO. The biggest worry now is going to be Shadow Pidgeot's energy. Pidgeot has 2 gusts of energy, which means they will outpace the Litleo and KO it with a Brave Bird. In comes Emolga, opponent panic switches into the Fortress. They get the farm down, but unfortunately this game will still be a loss as Pidgeot will make the Brave Bird, but they don't build up. They just throw on 4. It's an Air Cutter. Maybe they're running Air Cutter Feather Dance. That is a crazy win con, as if they have Brave Bird, they just win the game, but they do not have Brave Bird. Litleo picks up the KO, and somehow this team is 2-0. Picking up a much better lead in game number 2, the Shadow Annihilate against Regidrago. Regidrago immediately put under pressure from a Rage Fist. Rage Fist landing means that Annihilate can get a farm down, so Regidrago will often look to commit a shield. Regidrago will fire off its last-second charge attack. This Annihilate was getting absolutely shredded by the fast moves from Regidrago. Unfortunately, Regidrago's energy will be annoying for whatever gets brought in here. In comes Emolga. Emolga gonna look for a Thundershock farm down. Emolga deciding to let it go. That's gonna be the breaking swipe. No, Emolga fails to farm down. 1 HP remaining on that Regidrago as they get a last-second move. Out comes Runerigus. Runerigus will take heavy damage from Acrobatics. Acrobatics is going to land. In comes Litleo. Oh no, in the back is Fortress. And this poor opponent saves the Fortress just to get burned down by Litleo. Flame Charge grabs the shield. Litleo now at +1 attack will put up the final shield as the opponent goes for the Sand Tomb. Litleo is now debuffed on defense, but it's not going to matter. Only one Incinerate off the Crunch. This is a boosted Crunch, easily KOing Runerigus. Litleo went on an absolute rampage in that game. Unfortunately, the lead is bad in game number 4. Annihilate into Jumpluff. Save switch Emolga answered with a Diggersby. This is important to bait out the Diggersby, as Litleo would not want to see this Pokemon, but even so, this is a very miserable matchup for the Emolga. Emolga will launch an Acrobatics. This is not resisted here, so it will inflict some serious damage onto the Diggersby. If Emolga can survive the Fire Punch here, which I think it may be able to, maybe it can actually pressure a shield. Pressuring a shield would be massive for Emolga. I honestly didn't think it would be able to hang on. Acrobatics lands, down goes Diggersby, and I might owe Emolga an apology. Oh my goodness, I was not expecting a switch flip there. In the back is going to be Feraligatr. Feraligatr going to be swiftly answered with the Shadow Annihilate. Annihilate, these counters are adding up more and more. Annihilate gonna go for a double shield, may have wanted to CMP tie the Feraligatr there, but instead just gonna go for a full farm down. Ice Punch will obviously grab a shield. It looks like the opponent did get one turn to bring in there. I didn't see the fast move go through. No, they actually CMP tied. A massive misplay from the opponent. They should have committed to the farm down. Now in comes Litleo, and because they lost that energy, Litleo should be able to double up here and just take this win. Litleo gonna be hit with an Aerial Ace. This is clearly an Aerial Ace Energy Ball Jumpluff. And Litleo claiming another victim. Back-to-back Flame Charges loaded and ready to go. And that will be game over. Hopping into the next match, pretty solid lead. Shadow Annihilate versus Shadow Quagsire. Quagsire obviously has a pacing advantage in this matchup, but I would always rather be the Annihilate. As Annihilate, if it wants to, will be able to just completely farm through this thanks to Rage Fist boosts. Opponent save switches into Shadow Drapion, and this is where things will get a little bit complicated. Ice Punch is going to land. We see a switch and a catch onto Litleo. Litleo used as a damage sponge for that crunch damage, and Litleo is able to get that Incinerate farm down. Unfortunately, now it's Quagsire's turn to hit the field, and it's going to be Quagsire looking to fully farm down the Litleo. A one-shield farm down will leave the opponent with so much loaded energy, and that's going to be a pretty big problem. Annihilate does have the Rage Fist Bank, so Annihilate will be able to pressure the final shield from the opponent, but for the opponent, keeping this much energy means it's absolutely worth putting up that shield. Aqua Tail lands, picking up the knockout. In comes Emolga, but Emolga's just so far behind. There's so much energy on the Quagsire. Emolga is gonna no shield, but an Aqua Tail still does about half of its total HP. Emolga now forced to shield up the Aqua Tail in the back. It's going to be a Shadow Dusclops, and unfortunately, this is going to be game over as Acrobatics does big damage, but it's just simply not enough. Dusclops will be firing off Shadow Punch into Emolga, picking up the KO, and taking the win. We move to the next match. Shadow Annihilate, much better lead as it's staring down Unova Stunfisk. Obviously, with a Litleo and Emolga backline, very, very good to catch a Stunfisk on the lead. Stunfisk will get to connect with a Mud Bomb. Shadow Annihilate, able to tank that, no problem. This trainer did not include their Annihilate IVs in their battle submission. All they mentioned is that it is very, very attack weighted. And we can tell that from how much damage that Mud Bomb did. Annihilate is now going to be shielding up the Mud Bomb, building up to the Ice Punch, and this time going to go for the Rage Fist. Rage Fist would not knock out, but it would come very close to picking up the KO, and it's able to grab the shield from the opponent. Opponent is going to snipe down with a Shadow Drifblim. Drifblim now going to get completely walled as Litleo hits the field. Litleo going to be debuffed with Icy Wind, but that's not a problem for Litleo. Litleo now gets to farm all the way up to 100 energy. Crunch, even at -1, should easily be enough to KO the Drifblim. Down goes Drifblim. Litleo has a move loaded. It's going to be Araquanid in the back, and this is looking like a win. Flame Charge is going to get Litleo back to its normal attack stat. Litleo trying to get to Flame Charge number 2, but Araquanid is going to outpace and make it to the Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam will not KO. In comes Emolga. There's the Unova Stunfisk, but we saw this matchup before when the Stunfisk was healthy. It was a nightmare. But now that Stunfisk has taken so much damage from the Annihilate, Emolga is going to be able to close out this win. Emolga farms up, CMP tying that Stunfisk. The acrobatics that was so useless before now picks up the knockout. In comes Araquanid, but it's just too little, too late. Emolga with the outpace. Acrobatics KOs Araquanid. What a win. Moving to the next game, Shadow Annihilate versus Dusclops. My goodness, Shadow Annihilate. It's never really had a good lead throughout these battles. I feel like it's had type neutral leads and then just horrifically bad leads. But the good news is the Emolga save switch was not punished by a Stunfisk, but rather the opponent sent out Fortress. Emolga going to be committing the shield here, trying to get the shield call right on the Rock Tomb, and that is successful. Emolga now debuffed, but with Bug Bites not doing much, and Emolga having a massive pacing advantage, Emolga's looking to flip switch here, because if switch is flipped, then this is about to get very bad for the Dusclops, as it will get completely shut down by Litleo. And just like that, switch is flipped, in comes Primeape, and this game is so over. Primeape is about to get destroyed by counters from Annihilate, and the moment they switch, they're about to get cooked by Litleo. These counters are deleting the Primeape. Primeape will be able to grab the final shield, and then they should look to switch out. In comes Dusclops, walled off by the Litleo. What are you gonna do as the Dusclops? Shadow Punch double resisted. The Ice Punch single resisted. They throw a Shadow Punch. That does absolutely nothing, and this is just a slaughter. Oh my goodness. Litleo on a rampage. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We move to the next match, and it's a slightly negative lead, Shadow Annihilate into Tinkaton. Obviously would prefer if this was aligned to the Litleo. Annihilate is able to outpace and immediately apply pressure with a Rage Fist. They no shield, there's a catch and a sneak of an entire Incinerate by the Litleo. Unfortunately, Litleo caught a Bulldoze bait, and now Furret is going to hit the field. Furret, not the greatest answer ever to Litleo. Litleo should be able to commit the shield and then get to the back-to-back flame charges. No one move is going to knock out here, so Furret can always safely no shield the first, but Litleo will be able to get that shield back now with the Crunch. Crunch will easily knock them out. Opponent is going to commit the shield. They throw one Sucker Punch in the move. That's really nice situational understanding by the opponent, as if they throw one in the move, then the Incinerate will not register. Back in comes the Annihilate to get an energy head start. In comes Dusclops, and this is probably just game over. Dusclops' energy is too good into both the Emolga and the Shadow Annihilate. Dusclops lands the Ice Punch. That just gets the Emolga far too low. This is the Hail Mary win con the acrobatics, but the opponent will respect it, and that's just going to slam the door on any potential victory. Opponent switches at the perfect time into Tinkaton. Emolga reacts to fire off the discharge, but it cannot survive to make another move. They easily have two Shadow Punches, so Tangy not going to waste anyone's time, just no shield in the Shadow Punch, as that game will unfortunately be a loss. Moving to the next match, Shadow Annihilate into Dedenne, and this is a core breaker for this team. The safe switch into Litleo. Opponent will be able to fire off the Parabolic Charge instantly due to the one-turn switch. Parabolic Charge is going to land. Opponent not switching is good news, considering that the other two Pokemon are just completely destroyed by Dedenne. Dedenne will fire off the Parabolic Charge. There's the shield from Litleo. Litleo, will they try and go for the farm down? It looks like yes. Opponent saves Dedenne, and they bring out Diggersby. But the switch timers are very heavily misaligned here. This now means that Shadow Annihilate gets to feast. Shadow Annihilate is going to get the full counter farm down. Will exit with so much loaded energy. Scorching Sands will hurt, but Annihilate will exit pretty close to the back-to-back Rage Fists. The opponent did not save a move when they switched out. They send in their final Pokemon, which is Jumpluff. Jumpluff immediately under pressure from the Ice Punch. That's going to grab the shield, and Ice Punch number 2 should grab the final shield from the opponent, and then Emolga is in a position to sweep. But first, in comes Litleo. Litleo does not commit to the Flame Charge, instead just going to get the Crunch. Crunch not going to do a ton of damage, does get the defense drop. The opponent does not want to take any more damage, so they will fire off the Air Lace, but Litleo shields to get that last second Incinerate to land. And now, in comes Annihilate. Annihilate farms down to Dedenne. Jumpluff itself gets the farm down, but their energy goes nowhere into Emolga. Acrobatics lands, Emolga shakes off the damage, will get to the discharge, opponent realizes it, and they will resign the match. Hopping into the final match, Shadow Annihilate finally sees a good lead into Greninja. There's a safe switch to Shadow Scizor. There is a catch and sneak onto Litleo, catching the Night Slash, Incinerate KOs, and just like that, Scizor is gone in a blink of an eye. Back in comes Greninja. Greninja choosing to overfarm and letting Litleo get to a Flame Charge. Flame Charge not going to do a ton of damage to the Greninja. Greninja just wants to exit with a move to force a shield advantage for the endgame. Greninja will fire off the Night Slash. Down goes Litleo. There is the Night Slash boost from Greninja, and back in comes Annihilate. This is a double boosted Greninja move. It grabs the shield in the back, is Clodsire, and this is really not what Emolga was hoping to see. But Annihilate still has a shield, a ton of energy, and now will look to just try and get as much damage as it possibly can into the Clodsire. Clodsire begins to shield, but now this is a double boosted Annihilate. Even a Sludge Bomb would knock out from this health range. Opponent, oh, they're not running Sludge Bomb, they're running Stone Edge instead. Another Rage Fist reached by the Annihilate. Annihilate is able to grab the final shield. Opponent never going to be able to farm down. They exit with quite a bit of residual energy, but they lost 90% of their health bar. In comes Emolga, and Emolga is going to have to hang on. This is super effective damage. Stone Edge connects. Emolga barely survives. Emolga farming up. Opponent tries for the catch. They do not get it. And Emolga is going to save the day. Acrobatics, massive overkill, knocking out the Clodsire. And that is a good game. All in all, these were some extremely entertaining battles, so big thank you to Tangy Platypus for sending in this footage. As I mentioned at the start, this is a team that Tangy built for fun and then ended up climbing with. This is absolutely not a team that I recommend trying if you care about your elo, because it is ABA week to a great many things. However, in the particular leaderboard elo bracket that Tangy was in, it ended up finding some solid matchups, as people rely very heavily on Pokemon like Fortress and Dusclops, and those are two Pokemon that Litleo is gonna do very, very well at just completely shutting down. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.